Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I'm pumped to be with you.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to you. Can you just share a little bit about who you are and how you began helping women overcome emotional and binge eating?
Yeah, so I'm an emotional eating, digestive, and hormone expert, and I specialize in helping women globally gain what I call food and body freedom to step fully into the woman they've always dreamed of being. And how I help them do that is through addressing the root causes of why they are struggling with binge eating, bulimia, food addiction, emotional eating, and then usually hopping into the diets, the restriction, the punishment with, overconsumption and or exercising and underconsumption and those kinds of things. And then it's really multidimensional because I help them heal this all and break free from a physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual level. And it's so powerful to see what happens when we actually address the roots and look at why we're triggered. And so I went through all of it myself. I was to the point where I was binge eating and throwing the food away and eating out of my garbage in my dumpster in my back alley, and went through bulimia and food addiction and emotional eating and everything that I support my clients with. So I really get on a very deep level
Mm.
the impacts, how it makes us feel, impacts our vibration, our mood, our energy, like everything. And so that's what really prompted me to dive into this 12 years ago and help other women with it because it's not talked about enough. We need to hold safe space for women to open up and feel safe to open up and to have the proper support available, rather than more band-aids and quick fixes that aren't addressing the roots.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think for some people, this has always been a thing for them.
Yeah.
Like growing up, it's always been, on their mind. Even for me, I did ballet for,
Oh,
14,
yeah.
15 years, and you had to be a certain weight to be good. And I was always the fat one. I was the one that was like,
Mm,
oh, let's put you in the fat suit when we do like the
mm.
productions. You can be, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and you can be Mr. Shmee, the fat one on, the pirates and all that stuff. I was always the big one, but I wasn't even that big.
Right. That's
Like,
the thing.
it wasn't a thing. It was like I was just a normal, regular figure. Because I
Yeah.
wasn't super skinny, like it made me feel like I was always like not good enough. And,
Right.
I haven't necessarily had the binge eating or the bulimia or anything like that. But I have always been so weird with food where, like, and even with exercise, if I get addicted to something where I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this many steps, I have to look at this watch, I have to do this,
Mm-hmm.
I get in a really bad place to the point where I just don't do that anymore. I don't put
Yeah.
myself on diets. I don't put myself on have to do this many exercise, la la, la, because my brain can't cope like at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, and it's not healthy anyway to be like, I have to, because then what maybe was like a mindful practice or a mindful movement or a mindful routine, all of a sudden now is rigid and
Yeah.
can trigger the all or nothing or the perfection. And once that happens, it is no longer mindful. Now we're operating out of a state of fight or flight and dysregulation and need.
Yes.
And it just keeps, and then we don't like it, but then we feel pressured, and then it's stressful, and it just stresses us out, and then it gives us more symptoms, more, results that we don't want, weight gain, etc. And I see it so commonly about childhood and body image, whether little girls were in skating or ballet or dance, or the parents put them on a diet when they were 5, and that just completely significantly impacted their self-worth and started fueling emotional and binge eating, or they were told they need to lose weight, or maybe they observe their mothers or their parents weighing in every day and charting it in the bathroom. Like, we don't understand, the significance of how our parents or the closest people around us have impacted our beliefs and behaviors around ourselves, our self-worth, our body image, and food. And it's not to blame anyone, but it's really to understand the significance of our upbringing, and what we take in around us from what is around us is just so significant to the relationship we're going to create with ourselves, our body, and food.
Yeah, it's true. And for you personally, what was your journey like when you were younger? Did you have like, the parents who were doing that kind of thing, or did you always just have that, self-consciousness, I guess, around your body?
Yeah, so I'm very grateful that my parents never made comments about my weight or my body, and never did the dieting and any of that. So for me, what really I think built the self-sabotage with food is when I was 5, it was my first day taking the bus, and the older boys called me fat and ugly, and then the whole bus made fun of me, and that hurt so deeply. And so I took on that identity for the next 20 years of my life. I didn't know how to brush that off. And I was an only child. So I didn't have any siblings to have my back or like talk to. And my parents were very, like, they are amazing. They've done the best that they could when I was a kid. But my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis before I was born. And so I think there was just so much energy and stress and emotion around that. Um, that I was just like, I don't want to be a burden and burden anyone with my problems. Like I took on that identity from such a young age. I'll just hold it in. I'll just deal with it. I don't want to stress my parents out because they're already dealing with so much. And so I think like those kinds of mentalities, and then my mom and I would do a lot around food. Like it was kind of the opposite. Whatever I wanted was always available because she was a sugar addict and she loved everything. And so there was excess of all the baked goods and we can eat whatever we wanted whenever we wanted. And so I think I developed a sugar addiction, especially and unconscious emotional eating from a very young age. I just didn't know I was doing it. And then starting to diet in my preteens because I'm watching, music videos and I'm buying like Christina Aguilera's CD and I'm like, why don't I look like her? She has such a flat stomach. She's so skinny. What's wrong with me? Because I don't look like that. Not realizing like the editing, the photoshopping, like how conditioned we are to fit in this box, which is not healthy or accurate for like female well-being in society. And so they convince you you're the problem, and then they give you the false solution, which is diet, eat less, exercise more, burn the calories, weigh and measure your food, right? And so then that just fuels this whole all or nothing mentality with I have to be perfect on the diet. And if I'm not perfect, screw it. Who cares? And I'm falling off the other way and I'm overeating or binge eating. And that really hit hard when I was about 20 and had a breakup and was so hurt I could barely eat. And then I lost weight really fast. Thought reaching my goal weight would fix everything because that's what all the magazines taught me, but it didn't. And then it was like the switch flipped and I went full blown into binge eating where I was like eating tables full of food. I could eat like 3/4 of a full ice cream cake from Dairy Queen. Like I could eat so much. Actually, on a podcast last week. And I'd never sat down and like actually figured out how many calories I consumed because it never mattered to me. I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out for this specific show because he also was struggling with binge eating before, and I wanted to just share it with him and see what he thought. And so it was like 5 to 6 thousand calories in a binge. It's 5 to 600 grams of sugar, 4 to 500 grams of fat, like 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams of sodium. Like I don't count calories or anything, but I was just so curious. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I survived that, to be honest. 2 or 3 years of that 6 nights a week. I'm so grateful that my body didn't give up on me.
Mm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that insane to look at you then and look at you now
Oh,
too?
I feel, yeah, I feel like I've like soul died and reborn like so many times. Like it just
Yeah.
every 6 months, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just feel like a whole completely new being and energy. And like it feels like a whole different lifetime since that happened, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's amazing that you wanted more. You wanted better for yourself, and you wanted to change that narrative. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we get so stuck in cycles, then we just don't know how to get out of it, and we don't know what tools to use to be able to move forward. And that's why I'm so glad that people like you exist who aren't afraid to share their story and to try and help people find those tools. And like, I want you to explain to everybody because there's so many differences between all the things. What's the difference between like emotional eating, binge eating, food addiction, bulimia? How do you
Yeah.
differentiate where someone's sitting and what's going on there?
Yeah. So the first thing is we just want to address the overarching theme, which is regardless of which one of these you're experiencing or all of the above, this is stemming from like an emotional relationship with food and is very stemmed in emotional hunger. Now, there are physical imbalances that will amplify emotional hunger, which we can talk about, but you're eating even when you're not hungry. It's not for nourishment, it's not for vitality. It is a punishment, it is a self-loathing, it is a checking out and numbing out and avoiding feeling. It is trying to fill a void with food you're never going to fill with food, and it's chasing a dopamine high, that mood boosting neurotransmitter that's likely low, and one of the reasons why you're continuing to be in this behavior is because it's one of the only ways you can feel comfort, pleasure, euphoria, right? So when we start, you may just be a minimal emotional eater, which is like you have a stressor or a trigger come up and you eat a few pieces of chocolate. You eat a bowl of ice cream. It's like small amounts or like what would I would consider a mindful amount of something, but you're not actually hungry. There's no real reason for you to have it. And there it is triggered by something, right? So you're soothing, you're coping, you're numbing. It's like your safety blanket. And then we get into you eat half the bag of chips, you eat 4 or 5 cookies, right? Like the quantities increase a little bit more to the point where we're almost overeating. And then it gets into binge eating when it's this full-blown loss of control. So whether you have a bite of something and that gives you that huge like dopamine high, and it's like my eyes would glaze over, I'd bite into a cookie or something. I swear my eyes would glaze over. Nothing in that moment would matter to have the huge dopamine high, feel so good. And then it would just be like, I want all of it. So that dopamine response can really trigger binge eating. And then if you're in an all or nothing mentality with food and you have something that you weren't quote unquote allowed to because of your diet, that will trigger all or nothing. Like, I screwed, I messed up, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And then you again eat until you're so full you're sick. Then there's the mentality of, I need to get it out of the house so I don't get tempted by it tomorrow. So then you eat the whole box of cookies or you eat the whole thing of whatever because you don't want to waste it, but you also don't want to have to deal with the temptation tomorrow. And then there's the addictive properties of these foods. Processed sugar, MSG increases your appetite level. These food ingredients are designed and put in these food products to literally not only give you a dopamine high, but to increase your appetite level and numb and dull your fullness cues so that you can eat and eat and eat and you don't feel satiated. And then if we look at this from an energetic frequency standpoint, when you do this, you compromise your energy field and you drop your frequency very low. And once you're in a lower vibration, you're far more likely to like push it harder and eat more and consume more than go into other like low vibe behaviors. Like I would contact ex-boyfriends and I'm like, why am I doing this? But I want attention. Or I'd like go buy a bottle of wine and I'm like, I don't even drink, or I'd online shop. And so it was just so interesting to see then. And once you're in a low vibration, it's easy to want to keep repeating the pattern. So the binge eating is that full loss of control until you are so full, you are feeling sick, you feel so incredibly uncomfortable, you're in pain pretty much. And then the purge comes along with the bulimia because some of the justifications are, it's uncomfortable to feel this much food in my stomach. I'm going to just get rid of it and then I don't have to deal with the physical discomfort or the emotional discomfort. Well, if I just purge, I won't gain weight, right? So there's those kinds of dialogues going on. I call it the inner critic that will justify why that's a good idea. Unfortunately, though, to me, because I went through bulimia as well for 6 months, thinking these exact things, I'll just get rid of it. It doesn't matter. It will fix what I just did. But when we binge or emotionally eat, first off, of course, and I mean this in a loving way, don't judge yourself. It's just to be aware. We are lacking taking ownership or responsibility for whatever we're struggling with because we probably don't know what it is or how to deal with it, right? We're human. But when we purge, it is the ultimate lack of responsibility and ownership because first you binged and now you're going, I can just get rid of it. I can just do it like this. But it's so destructive on the body, the cardiac system, digestion, the stomach acid burning, your esophagus. Like, I was so worried if I'm like, if I can't stop this, like, I am concerned for my heart health, my longevity, like, even if I'll survive another 5 years if I keep doing this, right? So we really have to start taking ownership and responsibility. And I often find with my clients with bulimia, it's about like, you're going to probably binge because we have to do so much rewiring, but we stop purging first. The goal is ultimately to stop the binge, but if you can't, we need to teach you how to own it and not purge first. And then the binging slows down and you can fully resolve it. And then food addiction is the full asphyxiation and obsession, whether you're planning the binge, you're obsessing over like the treats you're going to go buy on your cheat day or whatever, or you're fully asphyxiated with the diet, the next eating style, counting your calories, weighing, measuring your food, the number on the scale, how many calories you're burning in the gym. It's just nonstop obsession about trying to have control with food for fear of losing control with it, even though you're just out of control no matter what you're trying. But 95+% of your mental capacity is taken over by thoughts around food, your weight, numbers, good, bad, should, shouldn't, can't eat this. This is right. And it's honestly robs you of any ability to be present in this moment because you're just, oh my gosh, I don't want to go out tonight because I don't want to lose control of food. I shouldn't go on this date because I need to lose 10 pounds. Like it just eats up every aspect of your light and your being.
Mhm. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And I feel like too when you get into a mindset like that, that's hard to break. Like that's not
Yeah.
an overnight fix.
No.
Like that is something that is deeply ingrained that you need to unpack, like, an onion, peel back the layers
Yeah.
and actually figure out what the hell is going on here. That I guess for you, when you're sitting there with clients, do you find it really difficult? Because some people want help, like they know there's a problem, they want to change, they want to do something. But do you find that sometimes you come up against people who want to change, but then don't want to actually do what it is that you're telling them to do, or they're really struggling to come up with like doing the solutions you're actually giving them? Do you sometimes come up against having to like pivot or do things a bit differently to get people on the right track? Have you found that that's happened to you?
Oh, 100%. And so I think part of it is, yeah, there is that really strong group of women who are just ready to change and they're so open and so coachable, but they're going to have their ups and downs and like certain habits, patterns, beliefs are going to keep coming back up because they're so deeply ingrained or it feels too incredibly uncomfortable to try to deal with it at once. So you're right, we have to peel the layers away. And then for some of my clients, 100%, we literally have to spend the first year working on like one thing. So I was telling a colleague about this earlier. I had a client one time. We spent our first year working together so she could muster up the courage to finally set a boundary with her daughter because this boundary issue was triggering her to binge every day. But because she was such a people pleaser, and the dynamic was my daughter runs me, I don't like call the shots, even though I'm the parent. So we had to dismantle all of the fear and help regulate her nervous system enough so she could finally set that boundary. And once she did, like her binge eating was lessening, but it literally resolved it. But she was so terrified. The fear was so big. Her nervous system was so uncomfortable with the thought of it because she thought her daughter was going to abandon her and like disown her, never talk to her again. So the limiting belief, the fear, right? So yes, it happens, but we pick away at it and I'm like, just keep on course. We will get there. I
Mm.
want to validate how significant this fear, this insecurity is that you have, or how deep rooted this pattern is. So we're going to just chip away at your pace. There's no pushing, forcing, or rushing, but there is exploring, getting curious, lovingly challenging you, and working on doing things like balancing your hormones and regulating your nervous system while we get you to make this shift. And 9 times out of 10, it works. I think in my 12 years of practice and thousands of clients, I've maybe had 3 women like just disappear or not show up. Like my women show up because it's literally like the last option. They've tried all the quick fixes, it's not working. They're realizing the detriment to all aspects of their well being and they're tired of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that
Hey, ho, lime glow. Hey, ho, lime glow. Go get some.
you do get to that point where you're just like, something has to shift. And I'm so glad
Yeah.
that they have someone like you to help walk them through it in a way that feels kind and compassionate and not too, abrupt. And I think,
Yeah.
let's talk hormones because
Mhm.
hormone imbalances play a massive role in this area and with eating and
Yes.
how you're feeling. And, I hear people say, a lot. And I don't know how you feel about this, but when we're on certain medications and it ripples with your hormones and people go, "Oh, I'm just fat because I'm taking medication that puts on weight and I'm doing this and doing that." And I've had doctors who have said to me, "Yes, like that medication could increase you putting on some weight, but it's not as much as what they're saying that it is." It's almost like they're using that as an
Totally.
excuse as to
Yeah.
why they're not the weight they want to be, that, oh, it's just the medication. But
Yeah.
yes, a little piece of that probably is, but people sort of lean on things sometimes as like the
Yes.
scapegoat or whatever. Have you found that
Yeah.
too?
Oh, 100%. And that's why you'll never hear me actually say eating disorder because I feel like it's such a label that people attach to and then go, oh, it's because of my eating disorder and I'm always going to have to deal with this and I'll never like beat the demon. And I'm like, no, you have an emotional relationship with food right now, but you can fully overcome and heal this.
Mhm.
However, right, like we don't want to latch on to this identity because it's not permanent unless you decide that it is. And it's true with medications and side effects, or it's genetic. I'm never going to be able to lose weight because my family on my mom's side is bigger, or whatever the reasons are. Like there's so many reasons. Oh, it's my age. My doctor told me once I am this age, I can't lose weight. So I just have to accept that I'm going to gain weight. Like we've been given so many limiting beliefs and stories that are false to believe and then like feel down to a cellular and subconscious level. It's like no wonder we struggle to lose weight. And no wonder we're not actually losing it and keeping it off and sustaining it because we're not taught how to do so in a healthy way. It's restrict diet, over exercise, take a weight loss medication, which causes all kinds of other issues, but it's just band-aiding and quick fixing, which is never
Mhm.
going to actually help to teach you the wisdom around why you're hanging on to weight because weight is a protective mechanism. Your body hangs on because she doesn't feel safe. You have binge eating triggers or emotional eating triggers. Your triggers are trying to show you where you're out of alignment or where there is healing to do. There's
Yeah.
only good to come out of looking at and facing the root causes, but we have to start normalizing addressing the roots.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I think it not just in eating, in everything. If
No,
there's
yeah,
something we can blame for why we're not doing something or whatever, our human selves go, oh, it's just that, oh, it's just
yeah,
because la la la, whatever. But when you actually like rip apart all of those beliefs or, those band-aids you've put on things,
mhm,
you actually need to understand why you're actually not doing that or why that
mhm,
isn't shifting for you because there's fear there. There's something that's holding you back or something that is trying to keep you safe. And it's safe for you
yeah,
to say that. It's safe for you to
yeah,
say things, oh, I'm just this way because of that. Or my parents are like that, so I'm just like that. It's like,
yes,
no,
yes,
no, that's not a thing. Like, yeah, you might have been programmed that way, but you can
yeah,
reprogram your mind to be more aligned with who you want to be and move in that
yes,
direction. So nothing is forever. That's what this
no,
conversation is about. Not everything is just how it is right now. You can't move that. You can't move forward. Like there's
yeah,
always opportunity for you to move and shake and go in different directions. And I guess when it comes to healing, because we're talking about healing what's going on here and the long-term healing of overcoming this. And I don't think it's like oh, now you'll never deal with food stuff again. Like, I think you never get rid of that voice, or it's always kind of nagging in the background. It's just a matter of how you deal with that voice now or how you self-soothe yourself. But how would you describe like long-term healing beyond just feeling good about how you're looking right now? Because there's still
yeah.
work to be done, even if you look the best you've ever done. Like, I'm sure that your mind
Oh
still
yeah.
races sometimes.
Yeah, so it's in my opinion, it's not about looking good. It is about feeling good and getting into alignment physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually because it doesn't matter how good you look. If you don't do the inner work, you will continue to binge. You will emotionally eat. You will gain the weight back again. You will still have the hormone issues, the body image insecurities, etc. And so I call it the ego mind, the inner critic. And that's what we really need to work on taming because it's going to continue to encourage you and enable you to binge and emotionally eat. And you don't need to change and keep you in denial that what you're doing to yourself and your body isn't a big deal. And then it's going to shame you for continuing to make those choices and continue to stay in self sabotage. No amount of weight loss is ever going to be good enough for your ego, right? We have to build our self worth and we have to learn how to love ourselves. And that is a longer term gain. It's not a go to the store and buy a bottle of self love. You've got to cultivate it within and fill the void and plant seeds of positivity into your subconscious mind. So I can tell you from my own personal experience, you can fully eliminate the food noise. I literally feel so detached with food. I love food. I love being in the kitchen. I love cooking and baking and all of this stuff. But I have no desire to use food as a coping mechanism. Zero. Because I'm now, 16 years later, I'm just so used to stress comes up, discomfort comes up. Oh, what is going on? Yeah, this is uncomfortable. I don't really want to feel this, but like, I know I'm going to be fine and I know how to feel it or communicate it or boundary to set or whatever I have to do. So I think the key is if we heal and align, you can fully clear that out. Maybe a thought comes up of like, oh, if this was me like 20 years ago, I totally would have binged,
Yeah.
right? And that kind of thing. Or I'll see certain foods and then think of past experiences where I self-sabotage and just have so much compassion for myself. But I think, as you heal and you really gain your new identity and you fill the void and you learn healthy ways to cope, you build a confidence around like I can get through anything. I believe in myself and I no longer rely on that. I can again enjoy food and the tastes and the textures and all that stuff because it's part of our human experience. But yeah, there's just this detachment that happens when you really like shift it. But healing is, yeah, it's ups and downs and it's so
Mm.
many layers. And I think we have to be so patient on the journey because likely it's been happening for years or decades. Most of my clients share that, right? And it's going to take time to become aware of your triggers It's
Yeah.
going to take time to learn how to work through those triggers and interrupt the moment where you're like, I want to just go eat. It
Mhm.
takes time to pattern interrupt and what do I really need instead? It takes time to regulate hormones, right? It takes time to heal the gut and reduce inflammation and balance blood sugar. It takes time to build your worth and to feel good enough. And then if we're looking at weight and weight being a protective mechanism, we need to help the body feel safe. We need to help the nervous system feel safe. So there's inner child healing and there's nervous system regulation. And it's all beautiful work. And the more women get connected and attuned to their bodies, they're like, this is so fascinating. What is my body going to teach me next? She's so intelligent. And that's the dialogue we want them to be excited living in their bodies and excited for the mastery that their bodies are leading them through. And so I think we need to shift the dialogue, or I encourage that we shift the dialogue from like, I have to lose weight and like, I need to look good to what does feeling good mean to me? And how do I want to feel emotionally living in my body physically? Do I want to have lots of energy and good mental clarity and good sex drive and like be free of cravings? I want to feel satiated after my meals. I want to be present going about my day more rather than thinking about food. And yes, you get to lose the weight and keep it off 100%. That if that is one of your desires, 100%. But instead of a weight loss journey, we focus on let's get curious. Why are you hanging on to weight? What are your weight loss blocks? What is out of alignment? Why doesn't your body feel safe? And that to me is the liberating journey because it will come off when it's meant to, when you have mastered what your soul and your body want you to master.
Yeah.
And you'll sustain it. Like I lost and gained 1,000 pounds in 5 years when I was binge eating. And I never held a stable weight. And I don't pay attention to my weight. I just go by the way my clothes fit. But my clothes have fit the same for the last 14 years since I balanced my hormones and all this stuff. And if I get puffy or something starts to fit a bit tight, I get curious and I talk to my body and ask her why she doesn't feel safe. And then I get my hormones tested again and oh, got to tweak my progesterone, tweak my thyroid, right? And this is the natural state of being now rather than like, oh my gosh, it's fitting tight. What's wrong with me? I hate myself. Like
Mm.
that is all rewired. So that's the goal here, just to help you respond versus react, get curious about your body and how she's trying to communicate with you. And
Mm.
then, okay, what do we need to do to help gain the clarity of why you're hanging on?
Yeah. See, it's so smart and it's so layered. It's not just,
Yes.
oh, you just eat and because you're just really bad. Like, that's just not what this
No,
is about. There's so much, there's
no.
so many layers. And I think as
Yes.
humans, it is that all or nothing sometimes. We have that mentality, that
Yeah.
perfectionism. And how do you stop that? How do you stop being perfect and wanting it
Mhm.
all to be this way or that way? Do you have any like mindset shifting
Yeah.
techniques or anything that you've come across that might help people if they're in that energy? And it doesn't have to be just with food. Like I'm a
Yeah.
perfectionist, it drives me mental.
Right. Yeah. I hear you. I was such a perfectionist and it was really the food stuff that fueled it. But I think obviously the first step is just being aware and just admitting like I'm a perfectionist. I find that with these areas of my life, I have an all or nothing, whether it's food and dieting and then losing control or it's like work. Oh my gosh, it can be so easy to be a perfectionist, having a business, having a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And so one of my things that I started doing when I was healing and started my business was just like I started asking my body because I'd overbook my schedule and be like, I need to meet everyone and like network and all this stuff, right? And it's just like I needed to be perfect and I need to grow really fast. And I started consulting with my body and I'm like, what do you think of this? Are you happy with all the things in the calendar? And she's like contracting and like I can feel my cortisol going up. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So instead of leading from my mind that the perfection, you have to do all this, be all this, you got to prove that you're going to make it and all this stuff, I dropped into my heart and my intuition and I started going, how does this feel? Because feeling and logic thinking are very different. And if you can get into your heart, it's going to help you pull back on the perfection and help you find balance.
Mm.
So that was a really powerful practice for me in the beginning. Also, self talk. So when I would be like, I have to be perfect on this diet, I have to have the perfect body, blah, blah, blah. And then I would have something that wasn't, when I was healing, it was like, this isn't about perfection. What is the balanced approach? What would be a balanced choice for me to make right now? Balanced approach would be instead of like going to this party and literally only eating salad, I'm going to enjoy a hamburger. I'm going to enjoy like a mindful amount of dessert. I'm going to eat really slowly. And wow, I could do that. I didn't lose control. I don't have to feel guilt and shame, but I had to like pep talk and be like, what feels safe? What feels balanced? This isn't about perfection. You're human. And so a lot of that self-talk or what else would fuel the perfection was a lack mentality. This is the last time I'm going to do this. I'm going to like go all in, right? Because then I have to be perfect tomorrow. And then I'd be like, this is not the last time I'm going to eat. This is not the last time I'm going to get to have these foods. I'm going to get to eat 3 times tomorrow or more. I'm going to have so many more meals and desserts and indulgences. Like, so you don't have to go all in tonight and then lack again tomorrow. Like, let's just have balance. And so there was a lot of this going on inside that really helped. And then a couple of my favorite tools, EFT tapping to help with like breaking down some of that perfection and the subconscious, and something that I do with clients called mind mapping, which it's like, let's break down the roots of this perfection. Where does it come from? What triggers you to go into it? Because it just becomes a survival mechanism, right? This is the
Yeah.
way that I'm used to being. It feels safe and comfortable. Being in balance doesn't feel safe and comfortable.
Mhm.
So helping them have awareness of where that all comes from, how the brain is wired, and then what would it look like to take one step toward balance, 3 steps? How can you catch it when you start to feel like it's taking over? Because, yeah, when we can flip our comfort zones to something that's more suitable for health and well being and our cortisol levels and our nervous system, you start to now feel more comfortable establishing some level of balance, some level of like the in between rather than all this or all that. But
Mhm.
everyone's is going to look at a little different. There's no right? My balance might look different than yours, but that's okay. And that's part of the journey is we figure out what we need and we work toward that. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
No, that makes complete sense. And it's funny, you were like telling my story in the beginning there where you're like, you book yourself out and you do this and you do that.
Yeah.
And that was me right at the start of my business. I was working 7 days
Same.
a week like a crazy
Yeah.
person. And now I'm like, oh God, less is more, less is more. I'm like,
Yeah.
my body just couldn't cope. I was like, I
No.
cannot be this like perfect in this, in that, doing this, doing that. It just did not, it was not sustainable at all.
No.
Like it just didn't
No.
work.
Yeah, and it's a good way to end up with high cortisol, adrenal fatigue, a thyroid issue, low progesterone, etc. Like women are not meant to hustle and we are not meant to push like men. We're hormonally wired differently than they are. And they're
Mhm.
meant to be more in the masculine. We're meant to have more of that feminine balance. But it's so true. You start a business, you have all these ideas, you want to get established, and like
Yeah.
hormones, who cares? I can handle it. And your logical mind will always say that, like, you can handle it, but then your
Mm.
body is communicating a completely different story. And that's where earlier when we were talking about weight, you could be eating really well. You could be sleeping
Mm.
well. You could be in a really mindful movement routine. But if your hormones are out of whack, you
Mm.
could experience a lot of difficulty releasing weight. You could have
Mm.
chronic headaches, right? Poor sex drive, fatigue, energy issues, anxiety, feel
Yeah.
completely disconnected from yourself. Hormone imbalances are serious. We need to give way more attention to hormone imbalances and stop just saying a woman is hormonal and moody. Oh my gosh. Our hormones are so complex. We're not educated properly about them. We don't know what tests to ask for. The normal ranges are too big, and people are like, oh, everything's fine, everything's normal, even though you can have imbalances in the normal ranges. So
Mm.
it's like women are not being heard and validated with like what's
Yeah.
going on. And then you wonder why you're feeling the way you are and it doesn't feel right, but no one is able to help you get where you want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
I
need to
agree.
like normalize giving way more attention to hormone health, blood sugar, gut inflammation, all that stuff too.
I agree. It's a massive thing, and that's why I'm so big on natural medicine and alternatives and things like that because there's only so much. Like I'm not against
Yeah.
like Western medicine. Like I
Yeah.
use both, but you can't
Mhm.
just have one thing. I feel like you need to have a holistic approach to health. And that's definitely for me, my hormones are always wacko. Like I know when something's up. I know when something's
Yeah.
going on
Same.
because, you don't just wake up like that. Like, there's something happening.
No.
you know?
Yeah. And it's over time. And the thing is society and I find a lot in Western medicine though have normalized like, oh, yeah, your symptoms mean nothing. Like
Yeah.
your body's trying to communicate with you with the symptoms. It's the way your body gets your attention. Oh, yeah, fatigue's just going to get worse because of this. Or there's nothing we can do about this. You're just going to have to deal with it. You're just going to have to suffer your way through it. And we need to
Mhm.
stop tolerating hearing things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like you hear it, and then it's like, okay, this isn't the path for me. I'm going to go over here
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter what age you are. You can heal, you can lose the weight, you can do all these things, but we need to see what's going on at the root and address it because like I said, one hormone imbalance like high cortisol or a thyroid issue, low progesterone, high estrogen, you can do everything you want. It feels next to impossible to lose weight because your body is in a heightened stress response. And she's like, that's our last priority right now. We need to do this, 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 this. But then you're
Yeah.
pulling your hair out because you're like, I'm doing everything right and it's not changing. It's like,
Yes.
ladies, perimenopause starts at 35 to 37. So all your old tricks are not going to work anymore. You got to get your hormones tested at least once a year and you got to be on it because
Yes.
things change and there is a domino effect that happens that's going to impact and hit differently than in your 20s or your early 30s where like extra stress or this or that and your body can shift it more efficiently. So food
That's
for
so
thought.
true. Yes,
Yeah.
I think that that's a really nice message for us to finish on. Get your damn hormones checked, ladies. Get
Yes.
this shit going.
Yes. Get it done.
Oh,
Gift
I
it to
love that.
yourself. Yes.
Yes, beautiful. Well, before I get into my wife's questions that she's prepared for you earlier, which was super random, what is the
So
best way that everyone can connect with you if they would like to, work with you?
yeah. So the best way is the website. It's amberapproved.ca. And I do offer a 30-minute body freedom consultation, which is complimentary and we can connect on Zoom. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. And we'll talk about your goals, your struggles, where you're seeking support and how I may be able to support you. I do hormone testing with all of my clients as well. So if you're wanting to inquire about that, again, doesn't matter where you're located, just location is going to dictate a different kind of testing. And then if you're wanting to learn more about emotional eating, I have a free quiz and a free 98-minute workshop on the website as well. And then the podcast is the No Sugar Coating Podcast, available everywhere. And I'm primarily hanging out on Instagram, and it's my name at Amber Romaniuk, Romaniuk.
Amazing. Well, I will put all of that in the show notes so people know how to find you anyway. But I love that you've just put all that out there because I think people are going to really love this episode. And I really hope that they get in contact with you because this stuff is some serious shit and it can change your life thinking this way. So it's beautiful. All right. Here are your 3 random questions. Oh my God. Okay. Your first question is, do fish get thirsty?
The answer that pops into my mind is yes, especially if it's salt water. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine they're
Dehydration,
just drinking all day. Like, and then
right?
if it like water's no good, then maybe they're getting thirsty because they stopped drinking it. Because they're like, this is
Maybe,
shit water. Like, get the good
maybe.
shit in here. Mm,
Yeah, or maybe like, because I don't know if they need electrolytes. I assume they do. And if the water doesn't have enough electrolytes, they won't get hydrated to a cellular level and then they'll stay thirsty, just like humans.
yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that answer. Okay. If your life was a reality TV show, what would it be called?
Oh my goodness. We nap on Saturdays.
Oh, I
We
love
nap
that.
on Saturdays. Like
I
chill,
love
we
it.
nap on Saturdays. We're pretty low key in our house. We have yard bunnies and we nap on Saturdays.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Okay, your last question. Is the S or the C silent in scent?
The sea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with that. I love that.
Yeah.
I read it and I was like, hang on. I'm like, is it scent or is it scent?
Skint.
It's
Yeah.
scent.
Scent.
It's the C. It's got to be the C. I'm with you.
gotta
I
be.
love that. Oh, awesome. Well,
So
thank you
great.
so much for being here. It has been so awesome to chat to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Of course.